Okay, Nick, let's preview Wolves against Arsenal at Molineux. Big game under the lights this Saturday. It's all about Arsenal and their reaction, right? After being dumped out of the Champions League by Bayern Munich at the quarterfinal stage. Just a few days to kind of let that sink in, see how they feel about it. I think they'll be feeling very disappointed with that opportunity that presented itself against Bayern, and they didn't take it, didn't have the energy to take it. But Wolves here are very capable of an upset and kind of the last type of team you'd want to be facing if you were feeling a bit low on confidence and low on energy, right? So definitely the potential for an upset here at Molineux.
Yeah, there's a potential for an upset. I don't expect it, and here's why. I do think there's a danger right now, and it has to be around everyone at Arsenal. You wrote about it so well last weekend. Could this be another, not collapse? It would become a collapse, I think, if they were to lose to Wolves.
Oh, yeah.
And what you don't want to do is say, yes, this is the same thing. Right now, it's just we lost to a good Villa team, and in our first quarterfinal knockout situation in a very difficult place, we couldn't win. If it becomes a stumble against Wolves, then it becomes, are we just a team that's front runners? Yeah. And there's danger there, and there's danger for Mikel Arteta. There's danger for every single player on that team. And because of that, I think they'll be on the edge. And even at a very difficult place, I expect a response, because if they don't, then, maybe frame your column, because it's very, very prescient.
I mean, it does feel very familiar. I mean, I've been around the Arsenal team a lot this season and the last few months in particular, and it was the same at the end of last season. And it just feels like just eerily similar. Speaking to some of the fans afterwards at Arsenal, they can see the similar things. There's a lot of criticism about Mikel Arteta, the lack of rotation. They look very tired, playing players when they're perhaps not 100% fit. So that is part of an Arteta problem, because he has to make those big decisions. But also, I think it's where Arsenal are at as a club as well, in terms of the squad they're developing over time. And they're not at Man City or Liverpool's level yet, where they've dominated for, decade or close to it. And they can build up that squad and that experience and those quality players. I mean, they showed that against Bayern. They just don't have that experience yet when it really comes down to the crunch time. So I am a little bit worried about them. I'd love to see more rotation this weekend. I think this is a perfect opportunity at Wolves to give Saka or Odegaard, these guys, a bit of a rest, because they've just been churning out performances and on the pitch and just haven't been at their best for a long time now, Nick. So I think now it's time for some of the squad players to be given opportunity, step up. And I think if they do that, and even if they don't win at Wolves, then people say, you know what, Arteta had to do that because of the grueling nature of the schedule, and then also just what happened in midweek at Bayern Munich. So I'd like to see that. But what do you think about that argument in terms of lack of rotation and depth there for Arsenal? Because they have options, but I just don't think they use them well enough or often enough throughout the season.
I think that's really fair, especially for a while now. It hasn't been a huge injury situation. I mean, Timber's been out the whole season, but guys have been pretty much back for a while. I know there have been some issues out wide, but that, to me, is not a place where they lack depth. I look at this, and it's been strange to me to hear Mikel Arteta so many times mention about, this is where we have to stand behind them and that we have to get them going. And I actually look to the leaders on the field for this. And I know we mentioned Odegaard potentially playing through injury. We know Saka has been dinged up. But the leaders of this team, I mean, Declan Rice is one of the only guys who looks like he's going all the time, every single game. And there's a point to be made for leadership here, and a point to be made for this is where you rally your people. And the argument is pretty easy for me. If I walk into that room, I kind of say, hey, look, we've been freed of our burden. We know we're behind. We just got to go out there and perform and win. We don't have any other competitions to be in. We're out of the Champions League. The talk is only about, will someone else stumble? Let's make them stumble. And it is, to me, Arteta's lack of rotation may have gotten them to this point. But this is where the excuses are gone for the players for me.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Talking about Wolves, then, this is a good opportunity for them, it feels like. I mean, they have nothing to lose. They're usually full of energy whenever you watch them play. But they have been on a bit of a bad run in recent weeks, Nick. And I think that's basically because they've been out of forwards due to injury. But Matthias Cunha's back now, scored a couple last week against Forest. They're just kind of a horrible team to play against under Gareth. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. Yeah. They are just the kind of team, full of players that work their socks off, leave everything out there on the pitch. And that's exactly what they've needed in this situation this season, where they didn't have a lot of money due to the financial situation, not a big squad either, but are comfortably in mid-table and pushing for a top 10 finish, which is way above what pretty much everyone expected them to do after a tough season last season. So opportunity knocks for Wolverhampton Wanderers a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. It's interesting to me that Wolves may be well positioned for next year because they haven't done just a little bit better. If they had been doing just a little bit better, I mean, some of these players we've seen linked with big moves over the years: Pedro Neto, Ryan Aït-Nouri. I mean, Jose Sa is one of the more underrated keepers in the league. It feels like to me, the way Cunha's performed, the way Wang's performed. I mean, there are players here, right? But because they're not surging into Europe, because at this point, I don't know. I think they have a chance to build for next year. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this team be one of the stories of the early season next year. Because if they are what we're saying they might be, then they're a real test for Arsenal.
Yeah. I mean, Mario Lemina and João Gomez midfield as well have been absolutely excellent. They're the spirit and the heartbeat of this team. But yeah, just one win from their last 6 has really just seen their season fizzle out, and that cup defeat to Coventry in the quarterfinals as well. So, but great job that Gary O'Neill's done. Score prediction for this one? What do you think for Arsenal against Wolves?
Oh, I'm going to say 2-0 Arsenal.
Yeah, all right, that feels about right. I'm going to go 2-1 to Arsenal. I think they'll just grind it out. Wolves very dangerous from set pieces on the counter. I think they might cause Arsenal a few problems. But yeah, it's time now for some of those fringe players to step up for Arsenal, like they did against Luton a few weeks ago. That was very impressive. So it's going to be a really interesting game at Molineux to see what kind of reaction we're going to get from Mikel Arteta and his very young side. So head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for the latest how to watch information, team news, live analysis, video highlights, and much more. Under the lights at Molineux, what a stadium. Wolves against Arsenal. Let's see if Arsenal can rebound and stay firmly in the title race.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.